this was great. Hope that you, your family, friends, and loved ones are doing well, staying safe, getting vaccinated. This is the time of COVID, and I just want to make sure that you're protected, your family is protected, and you're protecting others. So I'm jumping on here. Things are going to be a little bit different today. For one thing, I'm wearing a headset, and I'm going to have to do this probably for a little while, at least until I get my computer situation figured out. What I normally do is I record on a handheld recorder and record the video using my cell phone, and then I edit my videos. I actually splice my video together with my audio to be able to post to YouTube. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm recording everything on my cell phone. The audio is going to be a little different. Hopefully you're still able to hear me well, and I can get my point across, and that's all that really matters. So if you looked at my previous videos, I'm working with Brad at ZeroDebtCoach.com on my budget and other things, paying down debt, ultimately to experience some financial freedom. And one of the things I've been having difficulties with, and you gotta understand, I've only been doing this since May, but one of the things I've been having difficulty in is trying to figure out what my budget, how much should I allocate towards my medications? How much money should I be saving up or putting in a separate fund towards medications? And that's a cost I hadn't entirely figured out, because there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to figuring out how much I need to set aside for medications. And I'm actually going to read my notes, so no, I'm not going to apologize for this. It's not like I'm presenting to a class or anything. It's not like I'm standing in front of my college class when I had to do. I took interpersonal communications, as well as there was another communications class. I forget what that was called, but believe it or not, I did. It was a couple of classes. I took it as serious enough to be able to pass, but that was about it. Didn't really care about it. I cared about it, but I didn't really, give 100% towards it. And anyway, I will be referring to my notes. So figuring out my fixed expenses, as well as handle on food costs and other subscriptions, planning for being able to pay off debt, as well as planning for saving for car repairs and maintenance and all those things. Those are fairly easy. I've been good at tracking my expenses over the years. That wasn't a problem. The problem I had was I didn't budget. I didn't actually set aside money to anticipate certain costs. So, like, for one example, I'm anticipating paying a tax bill next year. So I'm setting aside like $20 a month, and then when it comes for me to file taxes, I have the money set aside to be able to pay for that. That's just one example. When it comes to medications, though, that's tricky, because I was diagnosed in 2019, and there are a number of factors that come into play. Those are things I have to consider. So I'm going to my notes. I know this, This isn't professional, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be. This is a vlog. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so why would the cost of prescriptions vary from year to year? Those are the questions I had to ask myself. So first, was it filled at a retail or mail service pharmacy? That does have an impact. So what I've noticed is, with a mail service pharmacy, some meds are cheaper, to fill that way, and it could be vice versa. If I do it at a retail pharmacy, some of the medications can be cheaper. Like, for example, prednisone. For me, if I fill it at a pharmacy, 90-day supply, it's cheaper than when I actually do the mail service. And when it comes to Eliquis, actually, I feel that at the retail pharmacy, it was just cheaper than doing the mail pharmacy. Some of the medications that I have filled with the mail-in pharmacy is the hydroxychloroquine, 90 days. That's cheaper, filling it there, as well as the mycophenolate or Cellcept. Those medications are cheaper when I fill them through the mail order pharmacy. So that does play a role in why the cost will vary. Have I met my deductible yet? So throughout the period of your deductible, at least for me and my plan, what counts towards my deductible are my medical expenses. So like going to the doctor's office, getting labs done, maybe x-rays and things like that counts toward my deductible. What sucks is my medications don't count towards my deductible. So I could go throughout a whole year without having met my deductible, but I've met my out-of-pocket maximum just spending medications. But if that happens, then I really have a problem, because that means I'm spending way too much on medications. That means I'm spending up to $4,600 on medications alone to meet my out-of-pocket maximum. And that, fortunately, that I hadn't even come close to that situation, but that's what could potentially happen. Okay, let me stick to my notes because I might get off track. Okay, so has your out-of-pocket maximum been met? Like I was saying, or what I'm going to say about this is, after you meet your deductible, the plan kicks in and pays a percentage, or it's co-insurance. So when I meet my deductible, I pay 10% of my medical expenses and my medications, and the plan picks up 90%, which is great. But that means I still spent $1,600 out of pocket, to meet my deductible. And so anyway, they're paying for that. And so, if I do meet my deductible, which I may not meet this year, then, they'll kick in that percentage. So far, it doesn't look like, barring I have any hospitalizations, or, if I have many more doctor's appointments, I might meet my deductible this year, as we'll see. Okay, but I'll talk more about that a little bit later. How many days supply have you had filled? So it's generally 30, 60, 90. Some can vary. Like I have to take this Medrol pack, and that could be a 6-day supply. So they're going to vary when it comes to the cost of that, and you'll know whether it's more expensive to have it filled for 30 days, 60, 90. And generally, like for me, my plan helps, and they'll say, hey, we noticed you filled it at your local pharmacy for 30-day supply. It's much cheaper if you fill it this way. And even on the website that we have for my pharmacy plan, for my RX plan, it has different tools that you can compare the cost for each of the medications. So that's definitely something that's helpful to me, and I'm figuring this out on the fly. It's not like I had anybody holding me by the hands teaching me this stuff. I'm figuring this stuff out by reading the materials, by looking at other videos online to be able to have a better understanding of this, and that's helping a lot. So anyway, once you meet your out-of-pocket maximum, everything's covered. 100% of it's covered. And when I had done that, when I had met it, that's great. But then that meant I spent $4,600 a year, and I'm going to go more into that in the later slides. But another question I asked, have the medications been discontinued? So there's some situations where my medications have been discontinued, and that was only by if my primary care physician or my rheumatologist told me to discontinue those meds, then that means didn't have to have it filled. So that's good. I don't stop meds unless my doctor tells me to stop the medication, because what happens is when I go into my doctor's appointment, I have to get a blood draw and maybe even a urinalysis, and they're checking to see if the medications are working, or if they need to lower the dosage on certain medications. Preferably the prednisone dosage has to be lowered, because being on steroids long term can have adverse effects. So anyway, if I discontinue the medicine, of course the cost of my prescriptions have gone down by virtue of the fact that I'm not spending money on that. So, and then lastly, and there are more questions to consider, but these are the ones that I thought about. Is medication generic? Is it formulary brand, or is it non-formulary brand? So as part of my prescription plan, they do have it outlined like what would cost more. The non-formulary brand would cost a lot more. The copayment will be a little much higher. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at what I paid for medications in 2019, 2020, and 2021 so far. So if you hear the pages flipping, that means I'm going through my notes. It doesn't matter. Like I said, this isn't a professional presentation. This is just what I'm going through. Hopefully it's beneficial to you. So the 2019 cost of medications, I filled 61 prescriptions filled. Out of pocket was $745.21. And I didn't include some of the vitamins that I think I filled at Amazon, I think, which I'm never going to do again, because I see it's cheaper for me actually to fill it through either my retail pharmacy or mail-in pharmacy. They were filled at 3 different pharmacies, retail and mail service, and that year I met both my deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. So that means, after $4,600 they covered all my medications. I'm sorry, after $1,600 they covered 90% of the medication costs, and then after my out-of-pocket max they covered it all. I think there might have been a couple of medications that weren't totally covered, and I'm not 100% sure why. I have to look back into that. If I find that information, I'll share it in another video. So, okay, taking a look at the 2020 cost of medications, I filled 49 prescriptions. Cost of medications that year was $598.06. Filled at 3 different pharmacies, retail and mail service. Again, I met my deductible and out-of-pocket maximum. I had a hospitalization that was 5 days when I had a grand mal seizure, and that pretty much, did it for me right there. Let me see. There was a decrease in the number of prescriptions that were filled. I think part of that too was the fact that we were in a pandemic, so I had less doctor's appointments. In-house doctor's appointments. I still had telemedicine doctor's appointments, and that could have been a reason why the costs were a little bit lower. And I discontinued some meds, based off of information I had from my rheumatologist and primary care physician, as well as I had an endocrinologist last year that will monitor my type 2 diabetes. And I'm glad to say, if you hadn't watched some previous videos, my A1C last checked, it was down to about 5.4, which is, my highest was in like 8.1%. So something to be happy about. As a matter of fact, I discontinued taking metformin because of that. Okay, so 2021, so far I have had 13 prescriptions filled, medications out of pocket $293.06. Filled at 2 different pharmacies, retail and mail service. I have not met my deductible and my out-of-pocket maximum. And what I mentioned before is that what sucks is that my medications don't count towards my deductible, but only to my out-of-pocket maximum. And so, we still have 5 months left, so I don't have a clear picture as to how this year looks compared to the previous years. But if I'm spending less towards my doctor's appointments, or if I'm having, I'm having probably the same amount of doctor's appointments, but if I don't have any hospitalizations, that's less of a cost I have to bear this year, and that'd be great. But I need to definitely figure out how much I need to allocate towards spending towards medications. And maybe that's something you can help me with. If you have an idea as to what target I should have towards saving for medications, let me know. Leave it in a comment below. And definitely this is something I'm gonna have to figure out. Living with a chronic illness brings its own set of challenges, and if I can have a good idea as to what I need to set aside per paycheck to have allocated towards that, it's gonna make it a little bit easier for me to live with this, and so be it. I'm a work in progress. My budget is work in progress. I appreciate you sticking in there. If you watch this whole video, thank you. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that is. Take care.